Awesome.
So thank you. I'm going to introduce our topic for today, and a special thank you to each and every one of you here present and watching the recording later. The recording, by the way, will be available in the Purposeful Parenting MKG Facebook group, and you can watch the recording there. Again, thank you for being here. Feel free if you wish. Have the chat open. We can use the chat for communicating. Direct message me and let's jump in. There we go. A little bit about me. My name is Mary Gugisberg. I am the founder of MKG Parent Coach, as well as a certified parenting coach. And the MKG, it really is helping parents bring mindfulness, kindness, and gratitude to every parenting situation. I am a parent educator, and I've been doing parent education for many years. And that's really what spoke to me to start my coaching business, because I deliver a presentation, kind of like what we're doing right now. And parents would either message me afterwards or stop me after the presentation and say, you know, what you shared was really powerful, super helpful. Now what? How do I take this into my home, and how do I make this a reality in my own home? So parents were looking for support and that accountability. And that's why I started parent coaching. A little more history about me. For 10 years, I was a director of youth ministry, and I worked with kiddos from grade 6 through those first 4 years out of high school. And think of all the shaping and molding that's happening in their bodies, their brains, their development at that stage. And then coupling that with the parent work that I got to do. All of these just really, I felt, led me to have my own coaching business. Most exciting hat I get to wear is I'm a mom myself. I have 2 kiddos. They both are, one is done with college and one is home for the summer. Lucky me. And he'll be in his 3rd year of college this fall. And really, the mission of MKG Parent Coach is just that, what you see: bring love, fun, and connectedness to families. And I'll drop in the chat these links. There's a private Facebook group where we really have community support, care for each other. I drop encouragement, tips. I have a business page. That's the Facebook MKG Parent Coach, and then my website. So lots of great ways to stay in touch with each other. Oh, and I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram. I think we're talking about screens in here. I'm telling you about all the social platforms I get to hang out on. So let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. So really, we're going to start with the blueprint that we have, the agenda for how to have these conversations at home and what's happening around screens and social skills. So I'll start first with celebrations. Like, what are you celebrating about screens? What are some challenges? And the 5 A's, and you see them on your screen. And each day this week, we're going to do one of those 5. So affection, appreciation, anger management, apology, and attention. And then what are you going to do? How are you going to take that message that we're talking about today and carry it forward? What you're going to do. So let's start. Please know the message we're sharing today applies to all of us, because you're looking at me through a screen. We all are using screens. So it really doesn't just apply for our kiddos. It might apply for how I show up for my kiddos. But that said, what are some of the positives about what we do with screens, where we hang out? What do you want to celebrate? Feel free, you can unmute, you can put it in the chat. I'm pretty flexible. And I would say one of the celebrations is just what we're doing, right? Is that we're using technology to support each other. Oh, connection. Thank you. Yes, it is a beautiful way. Think of during the pandemic, and I have some great statistics we're going to talk about with the pandemic, and that safer at home time. And it was one way we could stay connected. I know that's huge. I have family members that have new babies, and they live in other states. So how do you get to see those? So you get to see the photos, can't really do much for the see photos, right? Or FaceTime with them. Some other positives, I will tell you that for our kids, what I have found is the positives is a kiddo might be at a school, but they're not finding their group where they are finding their group online. Or think of the YouTube videos that we've all watched. I guess during the pandemic, wasn't there like sourdough bread was pretty big at first, right? And people were making starters and such at home. But how did we learn how to do that? We watched YouTube videos. So that's something to be celebrated. But then I'm going to have the flip side, right? What is my screen's not there? Oh, yeah, exactly. An attendee said much of the kiddo's social life is on screens, and oh gosh, yeah. So then, I have to ask the flip side. What are challenges? What are maybe these images you can see on your screen are relatable too? Like, who doesn't want to pull their hair out when technology doesn't work? And what are your greatest challenges when it comes to screens? I am in a business, a peer of mine in my business training has said, when technology is hiccuping and we're having issues, that's when your greatest breakthroughs are going to happen. And I think that's a really favorable way to just remember, practice life with grace. Some challenges that have been shared with me over time is, time. That you start watching something, or you're like, oh, I'm just going to look up this quick fact. And then 2 hours later, it just pulls us in and we don't even realize how fast, how quick we get drawn in. I remember a parent one time sharing with me that when my kiddo is spending so much time online, what are they missing because they're only in front of a screen? Like, what else is happening in life that they're missing? Well, that can be another challenge, right? We worry about our kids' mental health. And join me later in the week. I'm going to be doing, actually, I think it's tomorrow. We talk about emotions and screens. And we know the statistics, and it is very concerning. It's so true. And not learning that face-to-face. In the chat that was added, that we aren't learning face-to-face social skills and conversational skills. I am going to talk a little bit more about that too. So thank you. So let's take a look. Here are our 5 A's to purposeful parenting. Each day this week, we're going to look at a word, and we'll unpack what that is. But we'll start with today, affection. We'll look at appreciation tomorrow, anger management, apology, and then attention on Friday. I want to just give you a little behind the scenes around how I came up with the 5 A's. And this all is based on the work of Gary Chapman and Arlene Bacane. And they wrote a book together called Screen Kids. So I want you to first think about, how much time do you think our kids, and I'm going to use the ages 8 to 18, how much time do you think they're spending on their screens? It's kind of a rhetorical question because I'm going to answer for you. But from data collected from Common Sense Media, and if you're not familiar with Common Sense Media, it's a fabulous website. They'll give you, if you go on their website, they have amazing things about pick a movie. Let's use movie as an example. So Common Sense Media, and it'll give you the description of the movie, or an app or a game or a book or a social platform. And it'll give you the description, and then it'll tell you about what's a parent's review, and then a kiddo's review, and then how they best, I'm just checking if someone else messaged me, but we're good. How they what age they recommend, and they give you that clean look around, maybe a non-biased look is a better way of saying, about whatever you're looking up. So a little bit about Common Sense Media. So in 2021, they analyzed screen time before, and during the pandemic. And some statistics for you. So hold on, right? Between 2015 and 2019, so those 4 years when they did their evaluation, entertainment use, screen use, and now remember, this is excluding media and tech use for school or homework. It grew 3% for our tweens and 11% for teens. That's a big increase, right? And then you move forward to 2019 to 2021 when they did their another analyzing of data. And remember, this was during the start of the pandemic and after the start. And screen use grew by 17% for both of these ages. So the average tween spends about 5.5 hours on screens, and a teen over 8.5 hours. So that makes you go pause and go, well, okay, where are they spending their time? And social media is super popular, but it's not the only place. And parents, I'm sure you know this, right? It's not the only place our kids are hanging out online. In the Common Sense Media Survey, 84% of teens surveyed reported that they use social media a lot, but only 34% said they really enjoy it. What they really are doing is spending time on their on watching videos. The survey also found that social media use is increasing for the age that I think I'm most concerned about, because social media, they have age requirements for kiddos to be on screens, and kiddos in that younger age now, 8 to 12-year-olds, they're not really even allowed on these apps, on these social media apps. And 38% of kiddos in the survey said that they use some sort of social media. And that's an increase from 2019. So it's went to 38% during this research, and 31% in 2019. So I think it just shows the importance of us having a conversation around social skills and screens. And let's start with affection and how we really can show up and be available for our kiddos. So affection. What are some ways that you can be present for your loved ones? You can jot it in the chat. And while you're jotting, I just want to set the stage for a scenario. Family dinner. Family dinner is one of you will hear me say it many times, that is a fabulous way to spend time with your loved ones. A family, say mom, dad, whichever co-parent comes in and they have family dinner. That's a family value. So one way this family is being present is they're all gathered around the meal. Well, after dinner, everybody is kind of just hanging out together, but they're hanging out with a couple watching TV. Maybe mom is on her phone, checking social media, doing whatever. Another co-parent might be in the same space, not watching TV, also on a device. So you're physically all in the same space, but emotionally and mentally, everybody is separated. So how does that connect with what we're going to talk about today is affection? Some words that resonate for me are, when I think of sharing affection, being present, is love, connection, awareness, that being attuned to your loved one's needs. A dear friend of mine uses the mantra, love the one you're with, and don't love them between the screen, right? Love them. Dr. Dan Siegel, I love the book, The Power of Showing Up, and he defines presence as being there for your kids. In addition to physical presence, we want to have a quality of emotional engagement as well. And that also means I have to be able to connect with myself. What's rising in myself so that I can be attuned to my loved ones. So, some importance of being present. And this ties with the social skills part, right? When I'm present, where are my eyes? Right now, I know I'm looking at you or you're looking at me through a screen, But if it's in your home, am I giving my kiddo, my loved ones, my undivided attention, eye contact, again, without a screen? Let's reflect back. When our kiddos were babies, it was within hours of their birth that they were searching for their caregiver's face. Children who make eye contact frequently with adults, they're more likely to follow instructions when a parent, a caregiver, is looking them in the eye and having conversation eye to eye. Another study showed that children, when they make eye contact with people, they actually feel less anxious about them. And there's been plenty of studies about the importance of adult eye contact. And one study revealed that people are more accurately able to identify another person's feelings when they are looking them in the eyes. They're more accurate, able to identify their own emotional response. And even then tied with that is how to better manage anger and frustration. And who doesn't go, oh, I know your name. But if you look them in the eye, it helps you better remember their faces. So let's explore. Let's explore how showing up to show affection. And what I'm going to use is the 5 love languages. Again, remember the book that I based this talk off, the 5 A's, is from Gary Chapman. And Gary Chapman is one of the brains behind the 5 love languages. And if you've heard the 5 love languages before, yay, kudos. But I have to say, it's kind of one of those nudges that we all can use a refresher on. I know when I started doing my research for this talk, I was like, oh, I'd forgotten even about how to apply this. So I'm hoping that when we walk through this, this will help. This is going to help in another way of teaching social skills for me as a parent to help identify my kiddos' top love language, and then also how to teach them all 5. And we have to remember, everyone has a love tank, especially our kiddos. And when we haven't filled our love tank, and that emotional tank can be drained, right? We need to practice unconditional love that affirms our kiddos for who they are, not what they do. And unconditional love, it's the most powerful message. And no one ever has said, oh, my love tank is full, I don't need any more. So that's another reason I like to just, even if you've learned these, we're going to touch on all 5. And our kiddos, in parent coaching, I frequently say connect before you teach, and our kiddos need that. So when you can connect and show that love tank before you move into the next part of that teaching, because remember, discipline means teaching, it's a great way to just help connect before the next step. And I appreciate the 5 love languages also because each of us receive love differently. And I know that it's really easy to speak maybe your top love language or 1 or 2 of your close, immediate family members' love languages. But really, our kids need to learn all 5 of these to themselves become healthy and know what it means to be in a healthy relationship. So let's talk about the first one. The first love language that I want to discuss is physical touch. And I have to share, this one's pretty sad, that studies show that many parents only touch their kiddos when it's necessary. So it's pretty easy when our kids were little, right? We had to snuggle with them. We got to snuggle with them, excuse me. And we got to have those sit on their lap, have them sit on our lap and read a book or whatever. This physical touch actually is the easiest of all 5 to express and use unconditionally. We don't need a special occasion or an excuse for physical touch. So what I'm going to do with each of these is I'm going to introduce the love language, give examples, and then share the importance of them. So some examples. And while I'm sharing mine, I welcome you. Add in the chat some of what resonates with you, of some ideas too. So some examples of physical touch, obviously hugs. Maybe it's a back rub, maybe it's the tender touch. Like look at the photos I found, the dad who's got his hand on the kiddo's shoulder here, giving that physical affirmation. A pat on the back, arm. Maybe one way that you can show physical affection is your family likes to roughhouse or wrestle. When my kids were little, we and especially actually even still now, when we're driving, I would reach back and give them a hand hug. And it was just that, I think I needed it just as much as they did, but it was just that affection that let them know, hey, I know you're there. I can't see you, but I know you're there. Goes to snuggles on the couch and high fives. My son, just the other day, we were doing something, he's like, high five, mom. I mean, how cool is that? That is just another way of physical affection. And any other suggestions of how we can show physical affection? And while you're jotting them in the chat, I'm going to share why this is important for our kiddos to get physical affection from us as parents. And I start with, because it affirms them, especially when times are filled with self-doubt and then they are searching for, and when they're searching for belonging. We know that the teen years are challenging, right? Especially when they're transitioning or growing from tween to teen years, and having a strong foundation of love and acceptance from us, it only helps them be grounded. Yeah, lots of hugs. That's a great example of that physical affection. Another reason why it's important to show physical affection is it helps them feel confident in their own bodies. It helps them feel healthy in their own bodies. We know that the teenagers' bodies, the tweens, the teenagers' bodies are in changing daily moments, right? And we want to help them feel confident and comfortable in the skin they're given. And then we can help them as these changes happen by giving them whatever affection fits best with them. Another physical reason to share physical affection is research shows that teenagers are less likely to seek unhealthy physical affirmations when they get regular healthy affirmations from their parents. So they're less likely to get into or take risky relationship experiences, right? Less likely to get into major troubles at school. It also, when they have this tight bond, it also means they have a better self-image and they know the importance of healthy relationships. Another thing is it reminds our kiddos that you always love them and you're available. You love and you're available to them for those life challenges. So the importance of physical affection. Let's talk next about words of affirmation. And this one is my favorite. No, I don't know if I should say they're my favorite. This one comes very natural to me because words can be very powerful. We can build someone up or tear them down pretty easy. And I want to just remind you that our kiddos think very concretely. This is where we need to help them understand what we mean when we are expressing our love. And I want to just pause on we might sometimes get very, use sarcasm. And that's when I go back to our kids are thinking concretely. They might laugh at the moment, but, right, we want to just remember how our kiddos think. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about brain development, and that I think will also share some more. When we express appreciation with affirmation of words, we are telling our kiddos we love you for who you are, just being the kiddo you are. And I have to share, the greatest enemy for words of affirmation is anger. And we're going to talk about anger management later in the week. So some examples of words of affirmation. And again, if you have more, I'd welcome you to add them to the chat, but praise, right? It's giving praise that is authentic and relatable. That is, hey, kiddo, I love this picture you colored. It's beautiful. You really drew me in. And then you're saying, tell me more about the color blue that you used here. It's gorgeous. And we want to catch our kiddos doing right. Catch them doing positive things. Hey, thanks for, picking up the table and I didn't even ask you. Thanks. So words of affirmation. It could be phrases. It could be notes that you leave around the house. It could be a loving nickname. I know we have pet names for both of our kids, and even at 20, they're okay with me using them. Notes like, hey, kiddo, this morning I woke up smiling because I dreamt about you last night. Who wouldn't love to have a message like that? And you're leaving it someplace where they can find it. You're putting notes in their lunch boxes. You're just wherever it seems right for you to leave a words of affirmation. My daughter is I love it. My daughter is my precious treasure. Oh, love that. What a beautiful nickname. I also would encourage, when you're giving your words of affirmation, it's that noticing and acknowledging what they like. So there's times when using the nickname is appropriate, and then there's time there's not. So you want to just also pause and be aware of making our kiddos comfortable too. So why is it important for words of affirmation to be heard from us? Is when we give those positive words of affirmation, it really helps teach our kids positive self-talk. The quote, the way we talk to our children becomes their inner dialogue. That's from Peggy O'Mara. I mean, how very important. If we are building their kiddos up with their words, they're positive. They have that positive self-talk. And the more supportive words we give, it helps them when there might be some cyberbullying happening, when there's other challenges. This also, though, when we're giving those positive words of affirmation, it builds their self-esteem and it promotes a growth mindset. And goodness, don't we want that for all of us and our kiddos? The next love language. So we'll move into quality time. And quality time has to be, let's go back to the scenario. Remember the family that I used? They were all hanging out in the same space after the meal, but they were together, but they were physically together, but not emotionally together. When our kiddos are craving our quality time, if that is their top love language, even negative attention seems better than no attention. So many times our kids misbehave in attempt to get more attention from their caregivers. I'm sure we've all heard that. It's easier for us to give the first two love languages than it is our time. So it's easier to give words of affirmation or that physical touch than it is to give of our time. I'm sure that's very relatable. I would say to help combat that is that you literally build it right into your daily routines and schedules. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Because we know that our to-do lists are long, very long. But if we have a routine that we've built this right in, I know that every night when I'm going to tuck my kids in for bed, is I'm going to just sit down and be with them. That's my quality time, part of my quality time. And when we give of our quality time, it says to all of our loved ones, not just our kiddos, it sends the message that you matter to me. You're important, and I so enjoy just being with you. And many times we use the event or the activity as, we're going to do a service project together. We're going to hang out and do something for another loved ones. And we forget that it's not about the event. It's about doing something together. just being together without devices. And the last reason that I think it's important to spend quality time together is it just helps us know our kids better. They change, they grow, they're maturing, and we really do want to know our kids as well as we can. Some examples of quality time. It's mealtime, spending mealtime together without devices. In my home, we only have one television. And even as my kids were growing up, we still only had one television, and it's in the lowest level of our house. So there was never electronics on during mealtime. It's so important to be able to look them in the eye, have those challenging conversations. The more we can have those at the dinner table, the easier it is when a challenging life situation comes up. We do a lot of nature together. We spend time in nature. We play a lot of games. Even yesterday, we were together, the four of us, playing a card game. And then I talk about that ritual. Like, what is that special ritual you can create? Is it, I know kids are out of school right now, but is it when they come home from school and together you're going to take the dog for a walk, or you're going to make dinner together, whatever that ritual is? And parents, if you have multiple kiddos, this is when I would say find time with one kiddo individually. Like, find their thing with you individually. Super important. And did I have any other suggestions? I'd love yours. Do you have other suggestions of quality time that you do? Oh, how about laughing together? Just when you're together, laughter. Laughter is such a great medicine, and it's fun, but not again at the expense, because we want to make sure our words are building up. Back to that words of affirmation. And why is it important for quality time? I think it goes without saying, but it is deeper connections with your family. It sets the framework. That's the word I was trying to think of. It sets the framework for when those harder life situations come up. When our kiddos spend time, quality time with their family, they're less likely to participate in risky behavior. It helps our kids feel safe, secure, less stressed, confident, more cooperative. And like I said, when I spend individual time with kiddos, it decreases sibling rivalry. An interesting one. So receiving gifts. And now receiving gifts is a harder one, in my opinion, to talk about, because so many times people are like, won't I create a materialistic? Won't my kids just be like hungry for things? And if this is your loved one's one of their top love language, it's the act of giving them the gift. It's the thought that goes into it. It's matching the recipient with the gift. And parents, we have to remember there's a difference between payment for service and a gift. So, oh, if you clean your room, I will get you those tennis shoes you were asking for. And giving gifts with love, it helps our kids, teach our kids what love is, what this love language is, and not what's expected. I think another positive around gift giving or receiving gifts, if that's your love language, is it unpack it and it teaches about gratitude. And a lot of times people might see this, that you could use gifts as a substitute for one of the other love languages. And that could be one of our challenges. So I would preface finding out, if this is your kiddo's love language, how to best meet their need and show them all of the love languages. So one way to think about that is you can ask yourself the question, what message does this gift communicate? Does it communicate an expectation? Does it communicate love? What message does this item communicate to my kiddo? And remember, not all gifts have to be purchased. You could be out on a walk and find a really pretty rock or shell or something, and that could be a gift. It could be a flower. It could be a handmade gift. So some items, gifts, are remembering first to choose gifts that are meaningful and not harmful. And it might mean keeping a small collection of things. If this is your kiddo's top love language, it might mean keeping a small collection of things. It could be things that you give when you know that your kiddo values the time, and make a big deal of it. Give a celebration for this if this is their love language. Maybe if you're going to be away from them for a few nights, leave a small token, leave a gift so that they know that even though I'm away, I'm still thinking of my loved ones. And maybe you want to create a special place, whether it's in the home, in their room, wherever they can see it, to share their treasures, where they can reflect on these. Any other ideas? I'm open. It could be even, my kiddo's in college, and it could be having dinner delivered to their apartment so that he can share it with his family, with his college family. And the importance, like the why we do this is I go back to that gratitude. It teaches our kiddos about gratitude, and it recognizes the kiddo for his or her love language. It helps build empathy. And again, it shows that you're thinking about your kiddo, even when you're not presently with your kiddo. Okay, so the last love language is acts of service. And who doesn't love when someone does something nice for us? Well, our kids love that too. And our kids love to see us, parents, involved in their activities and projects. When parents do something special for their children, it makes them feel happy. Who doesn't feel happy, right? It makes them feel valued. And acts of service, they can become a model for our kids to help teach responsibility. When kiddos' love tanks are filled with acts of service, it also helps them pick up on the importance of modeling acts of service to others. So I'd have to just pause and say, this one, when you're doing acts of service, it can take a lot of our time, right? So we have to find a way to have healthy balance for self-care, healthy balance for family, and the whole life situation, right? So some examples, and I think this one is an easy one to think of for acts of service, and it could be helping your kiddo with homework, making a special meal. I already told you our son is home right now from college, and we've been making all of his favorite foods because, when you're in college, one can't afford it. You don't have time. But it also just gives us that admiration that we just are so enjoying that we get to sit down and have a meal together. It could be parents. It could be like we're doing our active services to repair a broken toy, or you're building something together. Maybe grandma has talked about she really could use some standing flower beds. So as a family, we're going to build these flower boxes for grandma. So you're teaching, you're giving words of affirmation when they're learning a new skill. You're doing an act of service because you're going to share it as a gift. And words of affirmation. What did I miss? Oh, quality time. If you did something like that, it touches on all five. And then welcome. Hear your ideas too, if you have suggestions of acts of service. But while you're thinking of those, the why. Why is this important? It is so important because we're teaching our kids thoughtfulness. We're helping them see that the world is bigger than the bubble they live in, right? It brings positivity into their life. It helps them learn the importance of planning and with the effort that it goes into care for others. One drawback I just have to share is that if we have these grandiose plans of acts of service, but then we don't follow through, it really is telling the person that their feelings don't matter. So we have to have that I talked about balance, right? We have to have that good balance. I want to just touch on it very briefly about Parent Coach and what it means and why and how. So why would you work with me as a parent coach? Because parenting is hard. And I didn't get a manual, so I'm just trusting you didn't get a manual either till you brought your babies home. But when you work with a parent coach, there's hope and there's support. It helps you have a deep connection with your loved ones and gain tools and strategies that encourage empowered conversations. They help you tune into your own emotions and know how to show up and be available for your kiddos. When you work with me, I bring a non-judgmental, hope-filled strategies that really help the whole parenting journey. We know that there's trainings, there's research, there's trainings, there's workshops, there's parenting books. But I already told you, when you work with a parenting coach, you get the support and accountability. And I have a 6-week class coming up where I'm looking to start this the week of July 11th. I haven't ironed out the exact time, but I believe I have one request to start on July 15th. So if you're interested, we'll talk further. And some of the things we discuss in this 6-week class is generational patterns, triggers, emotional triggers such as anger, and then we walk through limiting beliefs. Also, we take a deep dive into calming strategies, the importance of the peace process, which is presence. Oh, it's an acronym, sorry. Presence, engagement, affection, and calm and empathy. And we talk about empowered conversations, how to have them, and then when you're setting your family values, how you to align those with setting boundaries. So I invite you to explore. Let's have a connection call and we can talk further about gaining that emotional support to learn alternative parent strategy, the motivations behind your kiddo's behavior, and then understand your own personal needs for you and for your kiddo. Well, let's wrap up here. So you're like, great, Mary, you gave me this great framework of what these 5 are. How do I learn what my loved ones' love languages are? It's a big question. I just want to remind you that our kids are in a state of development. Their brains are still developing. And you might try something in one of the love languages, and today it resonated really good, but tomorrow, what? It's the same kiddo, but their responses are unpredictable. Can I go back to because their brains are still developing and they're trying to work on their own identity. Someone gave the example of a love nickname. Well, I probably won't want to use that love nickname in front of their high school senior friends, right? So when you're trying to figure out what your child's top love language is be observant. Watch for some patterns. You might even want to keep a journal, whether it's a paper or a notes technology you're going to use. I would encourage listening to their complaints and their requests. Again, keeping track of what day to day is happening. There's an experiment too. You could explore and take 1 week per all 5. So 1 week and you're being more physical touch. You're being more affirming with your touch. High fives, hugs, hand hugs, whatever fits your and record how well was it received each day. Then you're going to move into words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, gifts. And remember, the more we explore, the more we will learn. I want to also encourage, though, when you're exploring your kiddo's top 5 love languages, you're going to get down to their top 1, maybe 2, but you have to teach them all 5, because to be in healthy relationships later in life, the more they know all 5, the better receptive and giving they will be. Another way to look at how do you figure out what your kiddo's top love language is to give choices. Look at the 2 different love languages and pick 2 and then choose between the 2. Like, oh, if we did this together or this, what better fits you? I would also invite your kiddo to say, how would you show love to grandma? If you were looking at using those 5 love languages, how would you show grandma love? And then once you learn your kiddo's main love language, speak it in all different kinds of ways and dialects. Use it so that they can see that this is their top love language and you're using multiple different ways to get that message into them. And, oops, not letting me advance. There you go. So the title of our presentation, right, was 5 A's to purposeful parenting. And then how does that connect with those social skills that we talked about and those love languages? How does that connect to screens? Well, some kids don't feel loved by their parents. And that's not because we don't love our kids, but it's because they're not getting the most of their top love language. And when our kids aren't getting that loving feeling, they're more apt to withdraw. And we know when our kids withdraw, where do they go? Screens. So when turning to screens, that also can lead to those decrease of social skills and those emotional challenges. So our impact on our kiddos' lives goes way beyond their social technology settings. And we can use those 5 love languages to just be with our loved ones, not just physical, but that emotional and mental care. So that's my homework for you is I want to invite you to learn your kiddos, your partners, your people in your bubble, learn your top love languages and then apply. Continue to apply their top love language without technology. And then use the examples. You're welcome. Go back and watch the videos. Use the examples that we shared in the chat because, well, one, why not, right? But because it's so easy to fall into, well, I've always done it this way and that's what I'm going to do. If your kiddos love language is words of affirmation, well done. It's so easy to just fall into that same wording instead of exploring. So tomorrow we're going to talk about appreciation. It's the same Zoom link that you used for today. And I invite you, join me noon tomorrow and the rest of the week. And we'll talk about appreciation. And with appreciation, I'll also be talking about brain development and that emotional side. So what was your greatest takeaway? How will you use this information? What's one thing you can do right now to show affection in your home? Unmute, do whatever is easiest for you. I'm going to stop the recording. Oops. But I'd love to hear from you guys. Then you don't have to feel. I'm going to try and stop the recording. I know I can. What's one takeaway you have, or what's one thing that you can use in your own home? To tell those I love yous. Yes, yes. That it's safe to talk about anything at home. Thank you. Yes. And we started with talking about the importance of eye contact. Thank you. Thank you. So very important. And sometimes it's easy to forget, isn't it? I'm going to stop share. There we go. Can you guys still see each other? There we go. That's the